Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? So I came across an old article, but it does prove a point when it comes to cryptocurrencies that I've been speaking about. Plus, let's take a look at gold and silver and see how things are going. So let's go ahead and get into this. Before we get started, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I certainly do appreciate it. Alright, this is an old article, but it does prove a point that I was talking about. When it comes to cryptocurrencies and the government, you can't trust what you see or what's going on. This is James O'Keefe. I will leave a link so you guys can come check out this article. It says, exposing the crypto mafia. Anyways, exploring the allegations that the U.S. government agencies attempted to silence whistleblower and monopolize crypto. See, they were especially targeting decentralized cryptocurrencies. In a complicated, evolving field of cryptocurrencies, Ethereum Foundation, Ethereum, which is second only to Bitcoin, is embroiled in a dispute that involves allegations of multi-agency government conspiracy to prosecute a whistleblower for a fabricated crime to monopolize cryptocurrencies on behalf of the government. This is the government trying to find a way to take over cryptocurrencies. So they set up a fake crime to get the top people within Ethereum and then use them to blackmail them to grab control of Ethereum. This is what I'm talking about. I don't trust cryptocurrencies. I don't trust my government. I definitely don't trust my government when it comes to cryptocurrencies. Anyways, the article goes on and on about right here, and there's even a video on the bottom from James himself explaining about what's going on. I won't read the whole thing and bore you to death, but I will leave you a link so you go check it out, okay? Alright, Bitcoin's up to $107,010. Ethereum at $2,529. XRP still sitting around $2.36. Doesn't move much, does it? For a cryptocurrency, it's supposed to be what Dave the Lion and that Mel, the pizza guy, say. It's going to be about $500,000. Nope, sitting there at $2.36. Solana is at $168.97. Doge at least is up to 22 cents. Cardano is at 74 cents. Chainlink's at $15.78. XLM is now up to 28 cents. Shiba is at 4015. So as you can clearly see, Bitcoin is on a move again. Gold is at $3,294.40 an ounce. For those who listened to me a few years ago, I know you're really happy about this. Silver is at $33.32 an ounce. For those of you who listened to me a few years ago, I know you're really happy about this. So there seems to be a problem with gold and the price soaring, including Bitcoin, that's bothering the ECB. That is the European Central Bank. Do we give a shit? No, you shouldn't. Seriously, you shouldn't. So the ECB sounds the alarm on gold surge. Fears will trigger financial collapse. It's just bullshit. Come on, guys. The central banks are buying up gold left and right, as every year they set a record on how much they store up. They just don't want to have to pay the high prices. As gold surges, the prices go up. They're forced to pay these higher prices. That's the real problem. But listen to what they say, you know what I mean? When the central bank starts warning about an asset, you know it's doing something right. According to Frank Holmes, the CEO and CIO of U.S. Global Investors, the European Central Bank's sudden anxiety over gold isn't about volatility or stability. No, it never is what they claim it to be. It's about control. The ECB is afraid of gold as much as it's afraid of Bitcoin. And it's not hard to see why. Both gold and Bitcoin operate outside the reach of unelected bureaucrats and their printing presses. What did I say? You want gold and silver. Keeps you out of the system. They're decentralized. That's right. Both Bitcoin and gold. Portable, uncensorable. In other words, the stuff monetary technocrats have nightmares about. When institutions like the ECB issue dire warnings about an asset like these, it's not the asset that's broken. It's the system. What did I say? You want to have something that makes sure you and your family are protected and outside of the system. They're trying to paint a picture that gold is possibly broken. They're going to try fear tactics. They really will. But what's it really showing is that the financial system is broken, and gold is just sounding that alarm. In a world drowning in debt, plagued by negative real rates, and addicted to the fiat lifelines, gold is once again doing what it has always meant to do, expose the rot. Holmes sees a paradigm shift ahead, one where gold could skyrocket to $6,000 an ounce as the global monetary regimes continue to unravel. The ECB does fear gold because it's unstable. They fear it because it's honest. Plus, again, they want everything that they can control. Remember, they're close to pushing the CBDC on everybody. We know that's their goal, is to have everybody into the central bank digital currency by 2030.
In a note ahead of its broader risk report, 4 ECB economists warned that gold markets, often praised as a safe haven, could become a financial landmine under political stress. Why? Well, they say it's a dangerous mix of concentrated trading, leveraged bets, and opaque over-the-counter deals. Joining me today to dissect this further, Frank Holmes of U.S. Global Investors. Frank, always good to see you.
Lovely to see you.
Look, Frank, we've already seen the cracks, right? Earlier this year, U.S. tariff fears triggered a rush for physical gold, clogging up the Bank of England's vaults and forcing bullion to be recast in Switzerland before being shipped to New York. As we know, that distorted trade flows and revealed just how fragile the gold supply chain could be. So according to the ECB, if market shocks return from more tariffs or unexpected geopolitical escalations, margin calls and delivery problems could spread chaos far beyond the metals market. The point is, the ECB seems to me is very afraid of gold right now. How do you interpret this, Frank?
Well, the ECB is afraid of gold as much as they are afraid of Bitcoin. They're both decentralized assets, and in them rising, it creates an instability in their policies of printing money. So I think it's much more of them being anti anything that's decentralized, that is some form of portable wealth. Gold is physical, tangible, portable wealth, and Bitcoin is virtual, but it's portable. And you have the same argument that they go against both. And we've seen this also with the Bank of International Settlements.
Well, I just showed you an article in which the government tried to take over cryptocurrencies, starting with Ethereum. They fabricated crimes to try to find a way to blackmail the top executives and take control of a decentralized cryptocurrency. So I don't trust cryptocurrencies as much as I trust physical gold and silver that's under my house and in my control.
How they believe that they're the wizards of the world and they know how to print money. They're smarter at modern monetary theory than anybody else. And these assets like gold shouldn't be in your portfolio.
What I find interesting, Frank, is that they even, felt the need to put out a press release on this saying, gold could create this chaos to our financial system. But we've seen how central banks are buying gold at record speed here. So they're saying, oh, watch out for gold. But at the same time, central banks around the world are hoarding gold.
Well, everyone's accumulating because they want to create credibility for their paper money. If you don't have gold as credibility, then people don't trust that paper money. And that's what we're dealing with. And I think maybe they lend out some of their gold. Maybe some of the countries and economists that write this piece of paper had lent out their gold, and now they're worried that their gold is going to get called away from them. So they create this sort of negative narrative to have it sold down. I don't know, but I do know, and we all know, that there's a big push by China for de-dollarization. And that is the most significant battle. And in addition to that, they have one road, one belt. A lot of people are not aware that the Chinese under Xi Jinping has been absolutely brilliant, and he's lent out over $2 trillion. There's 195 countries, but over 125 have borrowed money from the Chinese. And then they turn around and start buying seaports. Forget the Panama Canal. They have seaports all over the world now. They have invested in something like 90 to control global trade. And then they have their own shipping company, and then they could put surveillance in the shipping company and put it in their ports, all these ports, to be able to monitor what the U.S. is doing. Well, and then they attack the U.S. dollar. Well, all these things all of a sudden start to cumulatively add up. That gold is, with central banks are saying, we have to have some gold. And look at Turkey. They're smart to have gold because their currency hit an all-time low last week. And citizens there, they're big into physical gold. You go to the bazaar, there is spectacular to see, but there's 24 karat gold jewelry everywhere.
I just think, again, it's interesting that they're trying to paint a picture that gold is possibly broken. But what it's really showing, and to your point, Frank, is that the financial system is broken. And gold's just sounding that alarm.
It absolutely. And there are continuous, if you see this century, and a lot of non-gold investors are not aware that gold has been positive 84% of the time. And it highly correlates with G20 countries practicing modern monetary theory. So they continue to use that mechanism. Gold is continuing to make new highs. But the added part is China, this big push, they continue to buy gold. And they continue to buy more and more gold. They're the biggest gold producer in the world, the biggest buyer of gold. And now last week, when Trump was busy in the Middle East, pushing this big $2 trillion business transaction deal, which is spectacular for America, the Chinese invited every leader from Latin America to go to Beijing, give them flight tickets, come on, and put out a $9 billion line of credit for them. They want all the gold mines. They want to have access to the gold that's in South America. So you can see these sort of rotations, and the biggest market cap gold stock today in the world is Chinese. So there are these interesting developments take place, and we get caught up with the trade war between Trump and China, Xi Jinping. But around all of that, other countries are saying that we have to have gold as support because we do not know where this paper money drama is going to go to.
Well, China is flat ass broke. Their currency isn't worth a shit. But people, for some strange reason, keep borrowing money from China like it's real. It's almost like the United States. So you can see right here, I mean, this is from what? 2 weeks ago? China mortgage crisis is worse than the pandemic. CCP is bankrupt. Banks are failing, but they still continue to give these lines of credit to all these people. Like you just heard the people say, they invited all these people from South America to come over there and gave them what? Access to $9 billion? That's not real money. Because the agreements that they do is we'll give you the money. If you can't pay us back, then we take over certain ports. That's what's happening. 300 million jobless crisis. Xi fell into the trap. Trump's trap, of course. 1 trillion in debt. Massive bankruptcies loom under China tariff for exports. 60 trillion disaster. CCP bankrupt, and U.S. starts to season Chinese ownership of our farmlands, as they should. They shouldn't have had them in the first place. China speeds up Pakistan's dam construction as India suspends their water treaty. So China is falling apart. So there is no competition. They're trying to get these ports for nothing. They're trying to just take them. And they're spreading themselves out too thin across the world. What would you expect? They got billions of people, so they can afford to do it. But it's looking really bad for China. And other countries are turning towards gold just in case. Do as they do. Don't do what they say. They're trying to tell you that gold is a bad thing while they hoard it. You should be hoarding it as well. Anyways, that's it for now. Look forward to your questions. I'm out.